The EduTech guys present a conversation from our live coverage of FETC in Orlando, Florida on Tuesday, January 23rd, 2018. Enjoy the program.
Sure, I'm the proud superintendent of the Beekmantown Central School District, and I'm here with Gary Lambert.
And I'm the director of 21st Century Learning at Beekmantown Central School District as well.
Awesome, man. So what brings you to FETC, first of all? I see you got a presenter tag, right?
Well, actually, Jen Womble gave us
I
this
see
one
you
this
got
year.
yes.
This is the fourth FETC that we've been to in a row, and this is kind of the place that started our district's tech transformation.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like coming back to home.
Yeah, it's
homecoming.
Yeah.
So the kids still fixing machines and doing the whole thing and making it happen, right?
It has grown to the point where other districts are now visiting us to understand how our model works for student-run help desks, and we couldn't be prouder of the work that these kids do, to the point where it's a full-fledged club at this point, and it's I think other districts are seeing that it's not only possible, it's probably a model that makes sense for other districts to emulate, because how do you bring more staff into a building on a fixed budget? You can't.
Right.
And the student interest is there, their ability to handle it. That student agency piece is just so big for us, and it leads to higher student engagement too, which we've seen through
The higher student engagement, we've seen through our metrics.
Oh my gosh!
But one of the proudest days I've had as superintendent is the commissioner of the New York State Education Department stopped by Beekmantown. We took on a tour because we're doing a lot of great things there.
Yeah.
And in the auditorium, we have a project-based, 100 students are in project-based learning, and the commissioner started asking them questions, and one of the members of the Beak Squad, she asked, well, tell me about the Beak Squad. What do you do at the Beak Squad? She's like, well, say yesterday I replaced the motherboard in a seventh grade girl. She was telling the commissioner that she replaced the motherboard. And I was like, that was Raylyn. So.
Well, and the wonderful thing about, we did a presentation recently down in the Capital District of New York, and one of the things that it was a middle school liaison organization. And what we like to tell people is that we're an average school district, average size, average demographics, but what's not average is our willingness to try new things. Mm-hmm. And if we can accomplish, as Dan was saying earlier, our graduation rates went from 78% to 93%. Wow. Our attendance is up, our discipline is down, and a lot of that has to do with engaging students and helping them want to be in school. Yeah. And if you're offering something that they want, they're going to keep coming back for more, and they're going to make that place better than when you started. And I think the student-run help desk is one example of how we and other districts can make that happen for mutual benefit.
Yeah, I actually talk about you guys a lot.
Oh, for real?
Oh, yeah, because we, our school district, we actually got into a video production in the whole bit.
Yep.
Same thing. You know, I just say, hey, we're going to take these same concepts and we're going to apply them over here.
Yeah.
And because we had a good talk last year.
It was good.
What you guys are doing is really cool, and we talk a lot with the BOCES in your area also, and it's really interesting how public schools and the BOCES are making this one dynamic change to have students take different routes.
Yeah.
To get into the workforce.
One size does not fit all.
Yeah, and that's engaging students, and it's increasing graduation rate. It's increasing workers for the workforce and entrepreneurs.
One of my goals as I took over as superintendent, I'm in my 5th year, was making sure that our kids understood the pathway and their access to those careers, and this helps that for sure.
Oh yeah,
it's the ultimate goal.
And
good.
One of the things that was amazing when we recently presented down in the Capital Region, we brought 2 students with us. We brought RJ, who was very tech-minded but somewhat socially, delayed a bit, and we brought Raylyn, who was very socially engaging but not tech-minded. And here are these 2 students that have kind of met in the middle with their skill sets. And at the end of our presentation, the folks in the room, all superintendents, principals, and so forth, said, what you folks are doing is great, but we're blown away by these kids. We want to hear more about their story.
Yeah.
And it's true. Like, we couldn't be more proud of the it's easier to build really good kids than it is to repair adults. And
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. Exactly. Well, yeah, and you're doing what we were just talking about earlier in an early interview. You're taking square pegs and introducing them to other square pegs.
Yeah.
exactly.
And they're realizing that together they'll fit that round hole just fine, or find another square hole and they'll be all right.
Exactly.
But that's the big deal. So it's really funny that that's what they liked the most. Probably was what happened with those two students together and individually. Forget the tech end of it. It was like, wow, look what you created here.
Yeah.
The opportunity. Yeah.
Well, and one of the to me that's one of the greatest, and I'm going to call it a side effect because that's not necessarily what you set out to do. Was I'm assuming anyway your goal wasn't to introduce these students from these very disparate backgrounds and have them meld in the middle somewhere.
Right.
It's so this awesome side effect is not only did they each develop or I'll say develop the pieces of themselves that weren't there through the
Sure,
other person,
sure.
but that's something that they from this point on they get to take with them for the rest of their lives. It doesn't matter
Absolutely.
what they're going to do in life. It doesn't matter whatever roads they go down. The fact that now they knew how, I'm sure they were very aware of how different they were,
Right.
and then realized that the two of them together, not only made this incredible duo, but even individually, they are both not the same people they were before they walked
They
in
grew
those doors.
each individually. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that is awesome.
One of our consultants who helped us on this journey, and the teachers really like her, Sandy Pavman. She credits a lot of our student-run enterprises like the Beak Squad for giving every kid at Beekmantown a place and a comfort. Like the athletes have always felt comfortable in schools.
Yeah.
If you're great in drama or great in music, you feel comfortable in school generally. But all those other kids that may not necessarily have a computer-based club, and now they walk around with the Beak Squad, and they have an identity and they have a belonging at Beekmantown. And we have a lot of that. We have a couple other enterprises, and it's been nice to see the kids
grow.
Well,
And the relationships we were talking about fitting in. We recently hosted for the North Country Honor Flight a flight of veterans who were too physically unable to fly to Washington, D.C., and we hosted a virtual honor flight experience in the school district with the students pairing up with a veteran, each of them.
World War II vets.
And
That's cool.
We're not sure who got more out of the
Yeah.
experience. And the veterans truly, they felt so grateful for these students taking their time to work with them and be there as their tech Sherpas during this experience.
Yeah.
But the students felt so enriched by the experience of of these veterans who gave so much of themselves. So that of all the things we've done, I think that moment, that day, there was so much pride for the community. Just that's the way education's supposed to be. It's supposed to be meaningful for everybody.
Well, and that's when your program blossomed.
Yeah.
That's when that it just exceeded our initial goals, and now it's become its own entity, and it's going to thrive. So, having said that, what else has it blossomed into? You said you have some other projects going.
Yeah, so we never attribute any one thing for our metrics improving dramatically like they have, but everything kind of all changed at once, and it all kind of crystallized. I think it crystallized for us. But we have in 7th and 8th grade, our whole 7th and 8th grade is project-based learning, with the exception of one accelerated group. So they take these deep dives into project-based learning. Probably one of the top 2 in New York State doing that. They say they couldn't have done it without the digital initiative, and so that it's kind of like a symbiotic.
They walk hand in
Sure.
hand.
They
Sure.
walk hand in hand.
Yeah.
We have a number of student enterprises where we have a red and gray cafe run by kids in the morning. We have the Beak Squad.
We have the Eagle detailing, where students use the bus garage, bus washing bays.
Yeah.
Primarily our special ed classroom, and a teacher is working with these students to develop job skills, so they will actually wash and detail employee vehicles.
That's cool.
Learning they're learning a real marketable
Yeah,
job
yes,
skill.
they are.
Yes.
And the staff pay for their vehicle
that's
to be dealt with. So
And
a lot of different things like that.
One more too. We have a dog treats business.
Oh, yes.
So the kids came up with a recipe. The kids make the dog treats. They market the dog treats, sell them Christmas time. And the number of treats they've sold is
In the tens of thousands.
tens of
Really?
thousands
Yeah.
of treats. But what's really cool too is then they've also been like donating. They help classes with fundraisers, and sometimes they do drives and they donate money to the animal shelter.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's just one little student-run enterprise, and where it can take these kids. It's just rewarding for me.
You know, that's the project-based learning part of
Yeah.
it, is that, you know, it's dog treats. Okay,
Yeah.
well, we've got PR, we've got accounting, we've got we're taking every aspect of our standards,
Yes.
and we're applying them right here. It's not just about baking dog treats and selling
Exactly.
them.
Right.
It's about we
That's
need a
the
website,
vehicle.
we need social media, we need PR. Who's going to keep up with the books? Who's
Yeah.
handling?
Well,
beautiful.
And I love that there's also philanthropy.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
not
right.
just the entrepreneurial, let's make money, ho ho ho. You know,
Exactly.
it's the what are we gonna what
Give
are we gonna
back.
do about this,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, how are we gonna give back? What are we gonna do
We don't
that
need
is
all this
socially
money. Let's put it somewhere
conscious
else.
about? Yeah, I mean about
Exactly.
what we're doing.
That's cool.
And one of the upcoming projects that we have with the Student Help Desk is partnering with some of the local senior citizen centers to provide technical skills and training to the seniors who may not be as adept, and having those students learn how to be patient and,
Yeah,
how
I
to
was-
work.
I was just gonna say.
exactly, and how
And
to
that's
work
perfect.
with people who
Yeah.
may not be as quick.
I don't even know if Gary saw the email, but I had an email today by a lady who works at our school, and she just became elected to the town board. And the town board has a very poor website. So she asked me if she can recruit some Beak Squad people and build the town board website.
Nice.
So
That's
you know,
awesome.
so it's just a great project.
Yeah.
But there'll be payoff, and you know, that's take some pride in building a website.
Well, and what's great about those students is not only do they get to use the hard skills of whatever they know in terms of web design and all the stuff that goes with that, but then it's also going to be the soft skills of dealing with the board and is what do they want, what do they need, what's working, what's not working, what are they trying to communicate. You know, those students have to present and ask
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
questions,
The interactions,
and,
the whole bit of it.
They're
and
not in
build
school,
all
they're in
of that.
politics now.
Yeah, right.
yeah. Well, there's
lot
that
harder.
too, right? You know, yeah. What
So
can't we say? What can we say? How
Your
do you,
email has to be blowing up from your other schools in your district.
Ours, yeah, they come at us from all angles, and we listen. We came here and we went and visited every place. Like we took a year and researched all these different journeys that we've
Yeah.
executed well, implemented very well, and we're willing to share. So
Yeah.
when somebody needs help, we're willing to have them come in. We now dedicate certain days for just to come visit, as opposed to taking these 6 in this day and then next week these
Sure.
3.
Sure.
It just came it's a lot on our teachers, but we will have different days where we share our story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's been-
awesome.
it's
And
been
that was
fun.
kind of an important part for us. Anyone that was willing to take that dive, leap of faith with us, we wanted to make sure they were willing to pay it forward too, because we didn't get here, like Dan said, on our own. It's
Right.
we
Well-
borrow and steal the best ideas where we can.
So if you
Sure.
remember, actually, when we asked for teachers to go on this journey, and we called it a pilot, and then we switched it to FACE, we said one of the only requirements is that you share your journey with the colleagues.
Yeah.
And that's been kind of embedded into our whole approach, is the sharing.
Yeah.
Well, and that's that is to me that is the key to success for any successful program. You know, a lot of folks when they start to get successful, they want to do the opposite. They want this is mine. I
Right.
did this, I grew this, and if I share it, then that means you're going to take it, and it's
Right.
no longer mine anymore. When actually, for the most part, it's the opposite. Once you start sharing, then really. Yes, theirs is going to grow. It's going to take off, probably in a different way that you never even
Absolutely.
envisioned.
Absolutely.
That's not necessarily a bad thing.
can
You
learn
know,
from them,
it's
right?
you're making
Right.
it your own. You know, and by the same token, people are going to say, "Man, that is awesome. Where'd you get that? Oh, well, I got it from these guys."
Right.
And then all of a sudden, you have people knocking on your door that you never would have seen or heard, or who they didn't even know about your program other than through through the success of this
Yeah.
other person. So I mean,
Well,
it's
I have to give Gary credit. Last year, I knew, just by the way you like to talk about our discussion last year, I knew this thing's going to take off. So it's obvious your stewardship has paid off.
Sure.
And it's I know
Thank you.
nobody likes to take complete credit, but you've done a great job. And then it just grew. You planted the seed and it helped it grow. And
Well, it's funny because some of the best ideas are ones that are just tossed out there and hang in the air for a
Yeah,
while. And,
right.
And Dan
Well,
Dan threw that out and said,
well, I threw it out because just down the hallway over here, Jen Sheffer from Burlington, Mass.
Yes.
Talked about her student-run help desk, and remember we emailed her. She shared with us how
she was
they
very
do
gracious about it. We visited them, and David Yontif, who was here with us last year, David's the advisor, and he's done wonderful things. And it's definitely never done on your own. It grows and just blossoms into something that's more than the sum of its parts. Yeah. And seeing our first group of students now who joined us with the Student Help Desk 3 years ago, who are going to be graduating this year, and having them hand over the reins to a whole new generation of students, we've gotten to the point where now this is something we're sustaining. We've institutionalized it. Yeah. This is not dependent on whether I'm there or whether Dan's here. Right. This is part of our culture now, and that's where we wanted to be.
And I got to tell you guys, you're going to find other student-run help desks that are very good, but we clearly have the best name in student-run help desk.
Well, I have that is no doubt about it. That's right.
Yeah.
Nothing beats.
We knew that last year. We were like, that's just awesome.
That's right.
That's great.
That is awesome. Well, and it also helps that you have someone at the helm who is willing to step out and take that risk, because oftentimes, you'll have folks at a district who want to start their equivalent of a Beak Squad, and it can't really get rolling because you don't have that support from the top down. And the fact that not only do you support it, but you essentially came out and said, we got to do this. That means everything.
So it took me a while to realize that, because I was here on the journey and I was like, this is what we're going to do. And I would listen to the importance of leadership, and it just didn't resonate until I started seeing other people, teachers or people wanting to do this in their school, but they didn't have that leadership. So you're right, the leadership is really important. It took a long time for me to realize that, because we were in it. It was just, I guess I was so close to that spot that you didn't see it.
There are two questions that are so closely related grammatically, but they're completely opposite in the way they come across. So many leaders, boards, or superintendents will say, why should we do this? And then if you just add the word, why shouldn't we do this?
Why not?
Yeah.
When you get to that point of say, tell me why this isn't good for kids and why we shouldn't, that's a whole different mindset. And it's okay not to have all the answers, because you find those answers as you go. And if you wait, this is not an original thought, but if you wait for every problem to be solved before you start, you're never going anywhere.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. I'm glad you guys came by.
Thanks for having us.
I'm glad to find out, more and more.
Yeah, see where the Beak Squad is, and then all the other stuff that you guys are doing on top of that.
Awesome. The entrepreneurial stuff just blows my mind.
Student enterprises are great.
That's going to be all, and it's just going to. So it looks like you guys are going to have to start having pitch sessions where the kids get to come in and pitch new ideas, and
the Shark Tank.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're going to have your own Shark Tank.
Your own angel investors that are going to have to come in and back all this.
Exactly.
Well, it's funny you say that. We have another club coming in the near future. That's it's going to be interesting. So we're working on it right
maybe
now.
next year we'll talk about
maybe next year.
Maybe next
Got to keep it under wraps for now.
Right.
Yeah, it's not fully materialized yet.
Cool.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to hear about it next year then.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Awesome. So guys having a great time so far?
We always love coming to FETC.
Yeah, this is a really great conference. Jennifer Womble, we were talking yesterday, and most of the cool stuff, it's all cool, but the really great stuff happens right here in the hallways.
Yeah, the hallways, and on the exhibition floor.
Yeah.
The learning that takes place down there.
You wouldn't believe the stuff that we learn sitting here, hearing the stories from all over the country.
Sure.
They get to sit in front of us. We're fully booked this year.
That's great.
Every 15 minutes, every day.
Yeah.
So.
And if you had been able to do this type of podcast 20 years ago, would you have ever seen the type of innovation and creativity then that is just exploding now in school districts?
And it's interesting to think of the stagnation we had in public education for such a long time.
For a long time.
And right now, it's a renaissance.
Yeah.
Technology has caught up with where we need it to be for us to provide for our students and for us to provide for our teachers, and for it to be not as much as an overwhelming, wow, it's like I just got an automatic car with four-wheel drive and I was driving a horse and buggy. Now it's just like, oh, this is much. All I need is a Chromebook. I just need to get on Chrome, and that's it.
And what's amazing about this is it's not like technology hasn't existed for 20 years or 30 years in school districts, but the big shift has been whose hands has it been in previously? It's been in the teacher's hands, and they've been the custodians of that information.
And all the limitations, too. Everything we said, you can't do this, and you can't do that, and you can't do this.
And now you've suddenly given millions of people tools so that they can express creativity. And by design, the teaching has to adapt to meet them somewhere for it to be successful. And look at all the wonderful things that happen as a result of it.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what I was going to say. You know, not only has the technology advanced and changed to where I think a lot of that is the fact that we do have, not everywhere obviously, but the ease of access, generally speaking,
Sure.
is so much greater. But that's a piece of it. There's also been this amazing mind shift that's been, again, happening over time, and it's much slower in some places. But there's a mind shift in education. We're kind of changing that sage on the stage to, you know,
Meddler in the middle.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah, that's good.
I love that. There you go.
I love to see, you know, and it's interesting, and we're seeing it everywhere. The arts, band. I was a band director for a long time.
Sure.
We're seeing stuff on the marching field we've never seen before because we're letting the students lead us.
Yeah.
And that's happening everywhere. I mean, it's across the. It's not just technology. It's just like, hey, yeah, let these guys tell us where to go, and the sky's the limit. That's what's really cool about these kids. They don't know that there's a limit.
Right.
Yeah.
We grew up with limits.
Yep.
You can't do that. Don't even think about doing that. You're not going to New York City. You're
We're doing
not
it
gonna
because
do
it's
this.
on the test.
Ah, right.
Right.
These kids don't know that, which is it's got its pluses and its minuses. But I think there's more pluses to it. They
A
go
lot more pluses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to be the next greatest rapper. I always say,
Right.
if you've got this massive goal and you get 3/4 of the way there, that's
Right.
still a pretty darn good ride, isn't it? So,
And if they were with a great teacher, they went on a great journey. But if you're with great kids, the teacher can go on 20 great journeys.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
What a great career to look back, say 25, 30 years and go, man, I had a wonderful ride. And I think of where we are right now with teachers. They want to be happy again.
Oh yeah.
And that's really, a lot of our teachers are not happy. And
Yeah.
it's not really their fault. It's just we're in this
Yeah.
pot that's still melting away.
Well, technology has been one of the greatest tools that I think that we've seen for some teachers to reinvent themselves and reinvigorate their careers. We've seen teachers who were, well, we have a teacher who's
Sure.
1 year until she'll be retiring in June, and she's acting like she's a second-year teacher.
Yeah.
And it's so wonderful to see that instead of coasting towards the end,
Yeah.
you are surging towards
That
the
was a
end.
boom.
You've been listening to a recorded conversation from EduTech Guys live coverage of FETC 2018. For more information about EduTech Guys, visit edutechguys.com. And thanks for listening.